Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Empire of the Kop Podcast. With me here today, we have Rick Elliott, Peter Kenny-Jones, Steve Carson, and special guest Bojack Bentz from Liverpool.com. Bojack, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's just Ben. Just call me Ben.
Ben, just Ben.
Yeah.
A lot, Ben. We'll go with that. This honestly, you've just made our lives infinitely easier. We appreciate that greatly. Ben, I mean, I'm going to kick us off with the Villarreal game. We're going to have a little brief review of it. But I mean, terrific comeback. And, you know, I said this before to the lads, but it seems like every single Liverpool game we end up talking about, it's very much a game of two halves. There, I've said it. It's done. It's out there. What were your thoughts from this?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, it just kind of looked like the elements were against Liverpool with that waterlogged pitch. And, like, you know, normally you'd expect Villarreal, it's kind of like a spring day. Even though it was evening, you'd expect it to be warm and just kind of pleasant conditions. But by all accounts, it was raining all day, and you saw that very waterlogged pitch at the start. And I think that had an impact on even Thiago misplacing passes at times. I think that had an impact of the atmosphere and everything else. But, you know, after that, in the second half, like you said, it was a completely different game. Liverpool rose to the challenge. Luis Diaz came on, which helped a lot. And obviously the Villarreal goalkeeper as well was kind of played his role in Liverpool getting back into the game. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end as long as Liverpool get the job done.
Absolutely well said. And Steve, I mean, Liverpool absolutely got the job done in the second half. That half-time team talk from Jurgen Klopp must have been absolutely phenomenal. We know Virgil van Dijk sort of came out after and said, you know, play the football, play the Liverpool way that we've seen, you know, all season. I mean, that first half performance was probably the worst I've seen Liverpool play this season.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like you say, it's a game of two halves, and the two halves couldn't have been more polar opposites. That first half was a shambles. I didn't recognise the team that was on the pitch. You know, the intensity was not there. The concentration was not there. Everything we were trying, we were just failing. And it's more really than anything else, credit to Villarreal for creating that sort of atmosphere and being so hostile on and off the pitch. The fans were, you know, a credit to the club, which they have been throughout both ties of the fixture. And yeah, I mean, it's all credit to Villarreal for actually keeping the tie alive, because if we'd have came out like we did, if we were allowed to come out like we did in the second half, in that first half, it would have been 5-0 aggregate, game over, you know, no worries, but they kept it alive. And I think, to be honest with you, going forward, I think it will help us, because I think it's nice to have that sort of scare against Villarreal, because if we came out in the final against Man City or Real Madrid and we performed like that, we might not be able to bring it back. So to have that sort of scare put into them right now, I think it could be a good thing. You know, we aren't untouchable. We can be beat. And in that first half, we were absolutely beaten, thankfully. In the second half, we came out and did what we usually do and just steamrolled the opposition, which was, you know, a credit to Jurgen Klopp and, you know, the changes that he made. Luis Diaz was phenomenal. And, you know, later Jordan Henderson brought a bit of calmness to the team. It was a masterclass, that second half. But, yeah, we're going to try and forget that first half.
Absolutely. I mean, Rick, we saw two completely different performances, I thought, from Naby Keita and Thiago Alcantara to begin with. I mean, that first half looked rather reminiscent of that opening 45 minutes, as everyone will remember, against Real Madrid at Madrid during the pandemic. But completely different performances come the second half from the pair.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll say Keita especially. You know, everyone like going into the match was like, you know, you got to get Thiago, you got to get Keita, you got to get Firmino in that midfield. Like, that is the Champions League, the midfield. That is probably the best combination midfield we have. And then, like, straight out the blocks, like, you know, Keita just looks like a ghost of his normal self, shell of his normal self. And it's just like, well, like they had on the commentary, they were saying, I don't know why they picked Keita. They should have picked Henderson. Well, no, that's like literally going against what everyone was saying in the build-up to the match. You can't just throw that out there mid-match and, like, you know, as if you're some sort of mystic god that can see every single possibility. It's, Keita was just, like I said, it was just an abysmal performance until that half time, and Thiago as well. And then it's just as if they went, oh, okay, we should probably start playing now. And someone went in at half time, changed the difficulty to easy mode, and then we just took the game from there. It was, there's no other way of saying it. It was like a night and day, polar opposite second half to the first half.
No, absolutely. I mean, Pete, it's more of a negative track, and I'm asking this from a fundamentally positive commentator here. But I mean, is there anything there that sort of concerns you ahead of the Champions League final, or is it one of those performances, as Steve said, you sort of tack it down almost to that sort of very hostile atmosphere, and credit to the Villarreal fans for creating that at the La Ceramica? Or do you sort of go in the mindset of, we're going to be absolutely fine? It's sort of more of a one-off?
Yeah, well, I think, as Steve said, and I don't want to compare him to the man, but Roy Hodgson said very similar then. I just saw him, he said, it's good to have that in your locker now to say, if we are getting beat at half time in the Champions League final, if we are 2 goals down, you go, well, we did it in the last game, there's no reason you can't do it again. So, yeah, you've got that in your locker. And I think it showed teams that, you can beat us if you press us and get at the midfield, because obviously Keita and Thiago didn't play great, but I think it was just they had no time and no options, which made it look like they were playing even worse than they probably were. And then obviously a few passes go astray and your confidence goes down. But I think you just can't keep that pressure up on us. We do this. This is why Klopp says his pre-seasons are so important, and why we do so much work, and that's why he wants to train so much, is because you can't press someone like we need pressing for 90 minutes unless it's your game in and out. And City can probably do that to us and we can do it to them, but I think we've probably got the better engine on us to get through. Well, I just think it was a really experienced performance in that second half, and Villarreal probably thought, like we thought when we'd scored our 2 goals, we just need to get a foothold now, and it just didn't work for either side. They just, whenever anyone tried to score, it seemed like it happened. So thankfully, I was to say, we've got that in our locker. We can just build off that, and there's plenty of reasons to be positive when you get to a Champions League final. You're going to have ups and downs, and thankfully our down in the whole competition really so far has only been 45 minutes, and the rest has been pretty much as good as you want it to be.
No, absolutely. Whilst we were previously on the topic of the likes of Keita and Thiago Alcantara in particular, we'll get to the pair of them shortly when we're discussing who have been sort of Liverpool's standout performers and arguably the standout performer of the second half of the season. But I believe, Rick, it is time for the Pete quiz.
We made him an intro.
So for those who aren't aware, this is a quiz that has been created by Peter Kenny Jones. Pete, would you like to do the honours for our guest Ben here?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much, Rick. I really appreciate that.
That's all right.
Welcome everyone. This is the Pete quiz. I'm sure you're all happy for its 3rd edition. We're going to carry off the theme of last time, which is we're going to name 2 teams. So, seeing as the fact we just beat Villarreal in a Champions League semi-final away leg, Liverpool have now qualified for their 10th European Cup or Champions League final. 5 of them, the second legs were played at Anfield, and 5 of them were played away from home. So I've gone for the away legs of the previous 4 times. So obviously I won't put Villarreal in because you'll know the team that we've reached the final. So basically I'll give you the year. You've just got to pick the years between 1981, 1984, 1985 and 2018. Pick any of those years, and then you've just got to name the lineup from that team. So if you name a Liverpool player, you get 1 point. If you name a player from the other side, you get 2 points. It's not as hard as it sounds, and once you get going, you're fine, because obviously though Steve wasn't here last week. But I'll put you in teams of 2. So, Rick, I know it's your last ever time, so would you like first pick of who to go for, or do you want to pick the year?
Pick the year. So wait, so I can go from which years, sorry?
So you've got, I'll say it again, so it is 1981, 1984, 1985, or 2018.
2018. Let's just...
Okay, yeah. So, Farrell, as you were the Golden Duck last time, do you want to pick your teammate?
I'll tell you what, we'll go with Ben.
Right, so Ben and Farrell.
Yeah.
Which is probably, best of luck, Ben, because last time we did this, it didn't go very well for me.
Rick and Steve. So, go on again, Rick, as it's your last go. You can go first, so you can if you want to confer, you can do it. It might help the other team, or you can take it in turns. But it's up to you and Steve. You're in a team together. You've got 2 lives. You've just got to name a player. So the game was the 2nd of May, 2018. Liverpool played Roma. Obviously, Roma are at home, Stadio Olimpico. The game finished 4-2 to Roma. Obviously, Liverpool went through an aggregate. So, Rick, Steve, over to you. Pick a player to play for either side, and you can also pick the managers as well. 1 point for Liverpool, 2 points for Roma.
I mean, let's just start easy. Salah.
Mo Salah is correct. 1 point. And you still have 2 lives remaining. Over to Farrell and Ben.
I mean,
Do you want to go or?
yeah, I'll tell you what. You can have the first shot. You can have the first shot.
Do you know what? I'm pretty sure Edin Dzeko played that game, so I'm going to go for Dzeko. Go for an opponent.
And Dzeko is correct. 2 points into the lead.
hello.
More than Farrell lasted the whole last time.
I know. I'm going to
wouldn't speak
piggyback
about
the living
it.
hell out of this. It's going to be amazing.
Right, Rick and Steve. And just a reminder as well, if you name a sub, you don't get a point, but you don't lose a life. And you can also name the managers as well.
Virgil van Dijk.
Virgil van Dijk is correct. 1 point to Rick and Steve. Over to Farrell and Ben.
Should we have Dejan Lovren?
Correct. 1 point. Back over.
Now, Steve. So I'm going to say a name. I can't remember if they were out for. Okay, so the person that I'm thinking of, I'm not going to say out loud just in case. But no, I might as well just say out loud. Was Ops injured for that in that leg or the previous leg? I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was the previous leg that he was injured for. I think he was back for that one.
No, because it was a serious injury, wasn't it? So he wasn't back straight away, was it?
Other way around.
We'll have to push you.
I think we go for that one.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Let's Andy Robertson.
Correct, Andy Robertson. So you've got 3 of Liverpool's back 4. Mo Salah and Edin Dzeko for Roma so far.
Right.
Farrell and Ben.
Let's go with Gini Ronaldo. I'm pretty sure he scored that game. So
Gini Wijnaldum played and did score in the 25th minute. All the stats on board here.
that was one of his first away goals, wasn't it?
I think it was possibly his first one. I know watching the highlights back. Yeah, so not a bad one to get. Not a bad one to score in. So it scored 4-3. Brennan Falston in the lead. Edin Dzeko's helping them out.
I'm going to say I'm pretty confident he played. I'm going to say Pellegrini.
Lorenzo Pellegrini for Roma. Great answer.
Oh, Steve.
From the start. Puts them in the lead.
Apologies for the Ox situation, but you know what I mean?
It's all right. It's all right. You've redeemed yourself.
For it, yeah.
I'm going to take a risk here. I'm really into.
You've both still got 2 lives remaining.
Is that a game? Was Stephen El Shaarawy playing? I'm not sure I butchered that name, but
I think you might be right. I kind of
think
remember.
he was playing. Yeah, final answer. Let's go for it.
Correct. 2 points. Brilliant answer.
See, I'm going to need your Serie A knowledge. Come on.
Got 3 Roma players gone and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Liverpool players gone.
Steve, this is your moment to shine here.
Yeah, I don't remember that Roma team all that well.
I was very drunk for this match, so I do not remember an awful lot.
I probably was. But that's no excuse for me. Do you want to take this or...
Wait, so we've had Lovren.
So from Roma, you've got Pellegrini, Dzeko and El Shaarawy. And for Liverpool, you've got Van Dijk, Lovren, Robertson, Wijnaldum and Salah. Still managers to go for. You haven't named a sub and you haven't got a wrong answer yet.
I'm wondering if Manolas had already left.
Should we just play it easy?
Yeah.
Trent.
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold is correct. 6-all. Couldn't be more tense. Over to Farrell and Ben.
Right, I'm going to take a risk here. I don't know if Kostas Manolas was playing, but I know he scored in the leg before against Barcelona. so he must have been involved, surely, unless he was injured. Oh, I don't know.
Go for it, Ben.
I'm gonna go for it.
I'll back
Kostas
you.
Manolas was not on the bench, but he was starting. Correct.
Oh.
That is 8 to Ben and Farrell, 6 to Rick and Stay. You need a Roma to stay level.
All right.
You're going to have to pull the Roman name out of your ass, mate, because I'm not. That's not coming from me.
I'm going to say Zaniolo.
Zaniolo was not starting, nor was he on the bench. You've lost a life.
Must have been injured.
One life remaining. Sorry. Over to Ben and Farrell. You are winning 8-6, and you've got a life in hand on them. 2 lives remaining.
Just go with an easy one here, really. Andy Robertson.
It's already been said.
Been.
I don't know, this is uncharted waters.
Beg your pardon.
I'm not going to let that go again. That's your last warning. If you say
jeez.
I'd say
yes now.
If you want to go for something easy, I'd say go for probably Mane, because surely he was playing.
Yeah, we'll have to go Mane.
What are we going for?
We'll lock that
Mane.
answer in.
Locked in, correct. Sadio Mane did start. So just to recap, Liverpool, you've got Van Dijk, Lovren, Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Gini Wijnaldum, Salah and Mane. For Roma, you've said Manolas, Pellegrini, Dzeko and El Shaarawy. 1 life remaining, Rick and Steve.
Could go
You are
easy.
3 points behind.
Wait. 2018.
The date was Wednesday, the 2nd of May, 2018. Inside the Stadio Olimpico, the referee was Slovenian, and there were 61,889 people in attendance.
Well, now you've said that makes it so much clearer of every answer.
The score at half-time was 2-1.
Was
Aggregate score,
that was
7-6.
that was Karius, wasn't it? Karius was in net for that season. Yeah, Karius.
Loris Karius is correct. Staying in the game, 7-9.
Survive.
My brain is just melting right now.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Ben Farrell.
Right. Since you mentioned Karius, I'm going to name the Roma goalkeeper.
Oh.
Alisson Becker.
There it is. That's what I was waiting for. Alisson Becker. 2 points. Starting goal for Roman, of course. Fantastic answer. Well done, Ben. That's 11-7.
Just handed it to
1
him.
life remaining.
This is going a lot better than the last time, I have to say.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have to deduct a point for that Robertson shout, surely. Come on.
There's still 11 people left to guess, so you never know. We've got 2 managers and there's quite a few household names in the Roma team, I would say as well. You're missing someone who scored twice on the evening, and someone who scored an own goal.
An own goal. Manolas's partner in crime. I've forgotten his name as well. Jake. I could go with Liverpool's team here, really, couldn't I? We've named 2 of the 3 forwards, haven't we?
Yeah, you've got Salah and Mane.
Yeah, I feel confident that it was Roberto Firmino as well.
That is a correct answer.
Thank God for that.
8 points. Back over to Ben and Farrell's 11. Still got 2 lives remaining.
Just remind me who we've had from the Liverpool end.
So you've got Karius, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Lovren, Robbo. You've got Salah, Mane, Firmino up front, and you've already named Gini Wijnaldum in the middle.
I think I know who scored the own goal.
I'll defer to you here.
Wasn't it? Didn't it bounce off of James Milner's head or something? Like Lovren kicked it at Milner, and that's how the game started.
Final answer?
Yeah, I'll go for Milner.
James Milner is correct, and he did also score the own goal. Fantastic knowledge.
Oof.
It was in the 15th minute after Mane opened the scoring in the 9th minute. No extra points.
That's worth an extra point only if you deduct a point for the Robertson one. I'm not letting that go.
So you've got 1 Liverpool player left, the manager of Liverpool, the manager of Roma, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Roma players left. The score is 12-8.
there's an easy one right there on the table that we could just sort of get right now. But then I've been burnt already by suggesting one player and then them going for the opposition. So I don't want to do that exact same thing again.
We'll have to push you.
Oh,
he was about a second.
Should we just go for the tap in?
Yeah.
Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp is correct. He was the manager of Liverpool at the time.
Happy days.
9 points. You've yet to name any substitutions, subs, from either team, so that you've still got a lot of banana skins, you could say, but you've got one Liverpool player left, Roma manager, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Roma players.
Sure, we named the Liverpool player that's left.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got
the
to be
game.
the captain.
yeah, it's got to be Hendo, hasn't it?
Final answer?
Go on,
Yeah,
Henderson.
let's
Yeah,
go.
we'll look at.
John Henson is correct. That's the full Liverpool team done. So you'd be stupid to name another Liverpool player. Score
this is
13-9, and now this is where it gets serious. One
is
life
getting
left on record
tense.
stay. 2 left for Ben and Farrell.
Right. I think playing for Roma was Mkhitaryan.
How confident are you? Confident enough to lock it in?
Confident enough to say that he was on the bench if he didn't start. So I'll go with Henrik Mkhitaryan.
Henrik Mkhitaryan did not start, nor was he on the bench. You are out.
Oh,
Fell at the first hurdle.
Nightmare.
So I can tell you the Roma team was Alisson Becker, and then, forgive me, I am not Italian, as you may have guessed, Alessandro Florenzi, Kostas Manolas, Federico Fazio, Alexander Kolarov, could have got him, Lorenzo Pellegrini, and then another one, Daniel De Rossi, Radja Nainggolan, Patrick Schick, Edin Dzeko, and Stefan El Shaarawy. And the manager was Eusebio Di Francesco. So the winners this week, well done, Farrell, and well done, Ben. First time in the quiz, you got 13 points. Rick and Steve got 9 points, and that has commenced Peter Quiz. Thank you for playing, and I will see you all next week. Roll titles.
and I think for one more.
It's the point.
It had to be done.
It's
had
the
to
point.
be done. It's the little pouting point. But now back, of course, to mainly just Liverpool. I mean, the first half of the season, Ben, it was pretty obvious sort of who Liverpool's sort of leading sort of talent had been. Mo Salah had been sort of lighting up the pitch. His numbers were and still are absolutely insane. Though you'd argue, of course, he hasn't exactly hit the same dizzying heights in the second half of the campaign. Players like Thiago Alcantara have stood out. Luis Diaz since signing from FC Porto. I mean, in your opinion, having watched the second half of the campaign, who has been the standouts and your leading standout?
That's really tough because I feel like every Liverpool player has really stepped it up in the second half. Even Van Dijk, Trent, Alisson has been brilliant. Obviously, you mentioned Thiago and Diaz. But I think if I'm going on for someone who's made like just pure impact since arriving, it has to be Luis Diaz. I think if we're looking at whether Liverpool would have got to this stage without him, I don't know if Liverpool would be talking about a quadruple had he not come in, had Tottenham not made that infamous offer for Porto in January. And I think for that reason, I'd have to go with Diaz.
Fair enough. It's hard to disagree with that, isn't it, Pete? I mean, I know we're coming right off the back of that Champions League semi-final tie, where was almost single-handedly changed the game around. Would you offer a differing opinion?
I like to be different, but I thought, obviously Diaz has been great, and I think he's done more than anyone expected. I didn't think he'd play anywhere near as much as he has done. But I think probably our best bit's been our defence, really. I think from the turnaround, I just think we've become a lot more solid. But it's still hard to pick any one of them because they're all they're a unit, aren't they? There isn't just one. I think maybe I can pick two. I was just really impressed last night with Trent. I think he's answered every attacking question that's come his way this side of the year, and he just looks so experienced now. It's so easy to forget. It's just, he's 23 years old. He's on course to break Ian Callaghan's record if he keeps his appearances and fitness up. And he could easily be the captain. Could easily be there for the next 10, 12, 15 years if he follows whatever Milner's doing. And I just think he's been phenomenal. But I do also want to mention Alisson Becker because I just think his one-on-ones are just stupid how good he is at them. We're so good at the back that when Van Dijk's got 2-on-1, you still feel confident. But even now, when they're through on goal, you still think we've got a chance here because Alisson just seems to save everything as well. And last night, I think Villarreal was saying it was a pen, but he definitely got to the ball first, and he just does that so well. He looks like he's gone down, and then seems to stretch Armstrong and just get his arms across. And I just think the whole defence really to ever mention. I'll probably say Trent, but just ahead of Alisson. I just think, you can't not then mention Van Dijk, Matip, Kanate, Robbo, but I think, I'll give it to Trent, but I think the defence has been what's maybe given us that edge since January.
I mean, you've both mentioned plenty of names there that have been absolutely, tremendous. Ibrahima Kanate has been an absolute breath of fresh air, in the back line. It says a great deal that's taken Joel Matip to keep him largely out of the back four, barring in sort of the latter stages of the Champions League. I mean, Rick, is it more of an obvious target for you? Your Thiagos, your Luis Diaz, or are you thinking sort of along a similar line where you think there's actually been quite, one or two players in the Liverpool squad who just don't get their praises sung enough?
I mean, if we're talking about people who don't get their praises sung enough, I mean, I feel like amongst fans, Mane is still being outshone by Salah, despite the fact that Salah is not fallen off a cliff, but he's still sort of he's not hit the same heights as he did at the start of the season and in previous seasons, despite the fact that he's still leading goal scorer and leading assists in the Premier League. It still feels like Mane is this second thoughts for most fans when really he shouldn't be, and the fact that he's amongst other people he's being considered as a contender for the Ballon d'Or, and I know that's more to do with the fact that he's won the AFCON, and he's it looks like if we do the quadruple, then it's hard to deny that someone who's been in that many winning teams it should be up there. But I mean his since coming back from AFCON, I mean, I wouldn't say that he's been our player of the second half of the season. I'd say probably Diaz for the impact that he's made since he's come in. But it's hard to say that Mane isn't one of those players that we should really sort of be giving a pat on the back and solid work there.
No, absolutely. I mean, Steve, I have to come to you here. Along the same sort of lines, or are you going to throw out a surprise name at us all?
No, all the players I've thought of have been mentioned. Alisson and Mane were the ones that really stood out to me. You can't discredit Luis Diaz. Of course, he's had an incredible impact. But Alisson, like Pete said, he's been impeccable at the back. And you talk about Liverpool's defence, and you always talk about Virgil van Dijk and the impact that he has. But Alisson makes these crucial saves game after game, and Virg likes to talk about clean sheets, which absolutely he plays a huge role in that, as does all the other defenders. But without Alisson Becker, these things simply don't happen. Sadio Mane, like Rick's mentioned, people are talking about him potentially going for the Ballon d'Or, which I think he's definitely in the conversation of being the best footballer in the world. But that you could say that for a handful of our players. Mohamed Salah puts in these kind of performances as well. But yeah, second half of the season, I think it's between Alisson and Sadio Mane. But Luis Diaz definitely gets a mention from me. I certainly think he'd be some people's picks as well, and legitimately so. He's been, like you said, a breath of fresh air.
We just had a comment come there through from Darren O'Connor. What a team we're watching. What a time to be alive. Fighting for a potential slice of history with a quadruple. We've got 2 more finals to look forward to. You know, the Premier League title race is ultimately not going to be decided by us unless Man City do drop points between now and the end of the season, which is perhaps improbable, but not impossible. And one significant obstacle that's going to lie in our way is, of course, Tottenham Hotspur, who are themselves seeking a little bit of glory themselves in the form of Champions League qualification. Ben, is this our biggest potential banana skin between now and the end of the season, as far as the league is concerned?
Yeah, I think from now on until the end of the season, I think this is going to be Liverpool's biggest challenge. I actually always saw the Villarreal game as Liverpool's biggest challenge for the quadruple this away tie. I know even after the 2-0, Liverpool were feeling confident, but I just felt like the atmosphere and everything else, with Villarreal having nothing to lose, that's going to be a huge challenge for Liverpool to overcome. And I was very impressed in the end, in the second half, how Liverpool managed to pull through that tie. But I think Tottenham play in a way that can hurt Liverpool in many ways, like Conte's tactics, the way they're counter-attacking. I think it's going to be a very similar challenge to Villarreal. And I have some sort of premonitions about, Tottenham trying to do a Mourinho-esque game of, from the 2013-14 season. But at the same time, with Tottenham needing to win, I think they're not going to sit back as much, because there is an incentive for them to get the top 4, and with them and Arsenal both needing to win, I think there's still enough spaces there will be enough spaces for Liverpool to exploit and attack Tottenham. And if we're looking back at that 2-2 draw at White Hart Lane, where Liverpool were the better side, I think they were very unfortunate to not get some of the decisions in that game. Obviously, with Tyler Morton was making his debut as well. This is going to be a much stronger Liverpool team that is out there, and I think Liverpool still have enough to get the job done.
I mean, Steve, do you reckon, as Ben said there, they're 2 points behind Arsenal in 4th, and with 4 league games remaining, they can't really afford to drop any more points. Is that going to play into Liverpool's hands, do you reckon?
I think it's possible, but Antonio Conte's Spurs is quite a different beast from what we saw certainly earlier in the season. So, they are going to be a difficult challenge. Like Ben said, it's probably now the biggest game that we've got in terms of challenges, other than obviously the finals. It's going to be quite the task. There's a couple of ways that I think Conte's Spurs could set up. I mean, you've got the idea that they could come out and, like Ben said, that sort of Mourinho, holding back, sort of holding and trying to just smash and grab. Certainly a lot of teams come to Anfield and try and do that kind of approach. But with Spurs simply needing the points, they'll have watched the first half of us against Villarreal and they'll think, you know what? There's an opportunity there that we could sort of get them early on in the game and then just hold our own, because there might be a belief among Spurs that they're a better team than Villarreal. I leave that up to other people to decide. But, I mean, certainly on paper, you might back Spurs to be the better side. But maybe that's more to do with the attacking prowess that they've got up top. And that's something that we need to be really wary of. We've shown that we can definitely concede this season. But, I'm not too worried going into it. I feel like it will, like you say, play into our hands a little bit in that Spurs need to get points, and I think they'll come out and think, right, Liverpool are going to score, we're going to need to score. They'll attack us, and because they attack us, simply our counter-attack and our press will just be too much for them, and I can see quite a big... I think the game will be won in the first half. I don't know if that's going to be for Liverpool or Spurs, but I think the first half will be major and the second half will be a toned-down version. The flip side of what we've seen at Villarreal, but... I'm not too worried, but Spurs will be our biggest task in the Premier League until now and to the end of the season.
Would you agree with that, Rick? I mean, we've got Aston Villa as well on the horizon. And last time out, they proved tricky competition for us. But do you view this as sort of being the major sort of stumbling block?
I don't know, to be honest with you. They're all difficult games now. We're getting to that point in the season where it's all about trying to stay as fit as possible, trying to make sure that you can actually get through these, because we've just added another fixture to the list, and so players. Yes, we have this whole thing of we do one game at a time. We don't look at anything beyond that. But I mean, we've just got to a Champions League final. Like, it's hard to try and put that to the back of your head and just go, right, okay, well, we've got to get through Spurs. We've got to get through Villa. So, yeah, it's a difficult game. I think I'm just parroting what everyone else is saying, really. It's a difficult game. We've got to get through it. And, it's... The issue is that Kane and Son are just some of the best players, forwards in the league right now, besides our own. So, trying to keep them quiet whilst also making the most of any opportunity we get is I mean, it's not something that I'd put it past us, but I mean like I said, we've had that many fixtures now compared to Spurs, who, they dropped out of Europe fairly early on in the grand scheme of things. They haven't, if my memory serves well, I haven't really done that well in the cups. So it's they're going to be a lot fresher, and they've had more time under Conte to sort of work things through, from a training perspective, to get it's still. They're still sort of getting to grips with his style of play, but at the same time, they're now getting to that stage where they're getting results. It's a difficult one. That's all I can say, really.
I mean, when we're talking about difficulty, and I mean, Pete, I'm going to come to you because you're often sort of a well of positivity that we can all sort of lean into. I mean, what are you sort of expecting to come from this game? Do you reckon it would be as sort of closely contested as when we went to London, or would it be a bit more sort of leaning in our favour?
Well, I think, as Ben said, that was a totally different game on it. We had Tyler Morton playing, and it was COVID times, and it was all a bit mad, wasn't it? I think, we were happy with the draw after that one. But I just think, this is the first game since we've qualified for the Champions League final, first game since Klopp has signed his new contract at Anfield, 7:45 on a Saturday night. So if you want to pick a time to play, as everyone's saying, possibly the hardest game that's left, and let's do it then. It's going to be absolutely bouncing Anfield, and we saw, everyone's saying Villarreal, we got an easy way to the final of the Champions League. We're Liverpool with Anfield behind us, and there's not a team in the world who wants to play us at the moment, and we couldn't be more up for it. So I just feel like, we're going to be absolutely flying at them. It's going to be like we did against City, like we did, in that mad week where we played United and Everton. We were just throwing everything forward. I reckon it's just going to be, let's try and kill the game as early as we can. We've got the physicality and we've got the fitness to do it for a full 90 minutes. If they want to try and chase us down, I don't think they'll be able to do it. If they want to sit in, I think we should be able to break them down. We've proved it all year round. Why would it change now? Let's go and score 3-4 in the first half, and you imagine the atmosphere there. Sure, there'll be a Paris song going, the Klopp song will be flying, and everyone will be straight into town at 10 o'clock, won't they? And what a weekend! Off we go.
Can I just say, this whole sort of we've had the easiest route to the Champions League final. Can you, everyone seems to have forgotten that the group we were in was dubbed the group of death, and it's just because we just absolutely walked all over everyone that everyone's just gone, oh well, that was an easy group then, I guess. It's just it's mad how the narrative has suddenly switched, because
but it was the same thing with Villarreal. It was the same thing with Villarreal. I remember after the game, everyone's going, well, Villarreal are a bit rubbish, aren't they? And then, you get the first half where they absolutely steamroll us, and, you've got the fans in the stadium going, we can do this, 2-2 on aggregate, and it's looking like another European upset. I think it's a weird phenomenon as far as Liverpool are concerned, where...
It's the power of the 12th man.
Yeah. It's one of those. I mean, Pete, you've already hinted at your potential score line prediction against Tottenham. What are we saying here? 4-5?
Let's say 6. Hey, why not? Second last one game of the season. Why not? Let's have 6. How nice would that be? 4-0 half time. We make all the subs, and then Origi last goal, 6th goal. We'll go home happy. Bosh.
I mean, it's one of those. And between now and the end of the season, we could theoretically have a situation where we're equal on points with Manchester City and it all goes down to goal difference. So an extra 6 goals in the bag would be highly appreciated. Ben, I don't know how you feel. Some of our guests really don't like doing score predictions. Some of them are all game for it. Where do you stand?
I don't mind. I mean, I'll probably get them wrong, but I'll have a go. I think I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. I think Tottenham will get one because Kane and Son are quite a threat going forward, but I think Liverpool should get a few. It's Anfield. The atmosphere is going to be, I think, buzzing. We've just got to a Champions League final, so you'd expect the atmosphere to be pretty high for what is probably the biggest game on paper as well. So I think Liverpool will have 3 goals in them at least.
3 goals, okay. I mean, Steve, how about you?
I was going to say 3-1, but I'll change it with a bit more optimism. I'll go with 4-1. I think it's inevitable Spurs get a goal. They're an unbelievable team attacking-wise, and it's going to be difficult to shut them out. But if anyone can, it is us. So, I mean, hopefully we do keep that clean sheet. It'd be great for Alisson to add to his already impressive tally. The tally that also includes the centre halves at the club as well, the defenders on the whole. But, I think, at the end of the day, I mean, there's a possibility that, because mind games, the mental side of football, it isn't really talked about too much. I think Spurs might be a little bit of like a seed in the back of their head, thinking about Liverpool getting to another Champions League final when they were obviously just quite simply professionally beat by us the last time they found themselves there. So that could be a little bit of an element there. But yeah, I'm going to fancy Liverpool to get a 4 on the night, the power of Anfield and all that. But yeah, I think Spurs will manage to snatch one with the quality they've got up front.
Rick, we're steadily running out of viable scorelines here. Where are you going to go? Oh. Lost some.
Never buy wireless headphones. My headphone battery just died. So my trademark pessimism is going to come in to counter Pete's optimism. So I don't think it's going to be that the scoreline is going to be that great. I think it's going to be a very nervy, cagey affair, and I think we're going to need the whole of Anfield really bouncing for this to help push it over the line. I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to like the Newcastle game was, you look at the stats and it was, but I think it's going to be something that's closer to 2-1. Like everyone said, like Kane and Son, like I think Son will get a goal. Okay, it could be Kane, but I just got a feeling his Son will get the goal. And it just depends on when that is in the game. It could be that if it's early on, then we've got an uphill battle. But we should be seeing these off quite easily. It's just I don't think that the score line is going to be as grandiose as everyone is predicting. Just 2-1 just seems like a comfortable. It's like I said, it's a 5:30 kickoff. Get out the pub after a few hours of watching everything else. Have a few bevies, have a bit of a sing-song. Just, get Anfield rocking because we're going to need it.
Absolutely. I mean, I was personally leaning more on the side of optimism. Sadly, the 3-1 scoreline has been taken. So I'll go cleanly between you all, and I'm going to go for a 4-2 finish. That's been all from us today. We've looked at Villarreal, we've looked at Liverpool's best player the second half of the season, and we've looked at the upcoming clash against Tottenham. 4 league games to go, a point between us and league leaders Manchester City, but 2 more finals secured after we've won the Carabao Cup. Plenty to play for Liverpool. Thank you very much to Rick, Pete and Steve, and our special guest Ben for joining us today. Ben, you just want to share a little bit about yourself here? Any exciting projects coming up?
I'm a writer for Liverpool.com, so just anything exciting, but I'm always writing and covering, talking about Liverpool on my Twitter. So if you just want to follow me at Ben Botchak, BOCSAK, you can find me on Twitter and read my articles.
Lovely stuff. Thank you again for popping on. We have been the Empire of the Kop podcast. Take care.